What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the A Show with the Kings of Pro Wrestling Podcast. I am Justin, here with Meelz, and we got a special guest this week. The man, the myth, the legend, the newest member of the WWE Press Row. my brother, my friend, my ally, and all of those things. A plus. What's going on, bro?
My good brothers, man. How y'all feeling, man? This is definitely coming off of one of the most crammed, action-packed 2 days I've experienced as a wrestling fan. It was nonstop in Cleveland.
Let me ask you this, Plus. In terms of all media things that you've done, where does WWE kind of rank?
Wow. Personally, it's going to be up there. You know, I've done, of course, BET Awards. Have I gone to a video? I don't think I've been to a VMAs in the press capacity, but I've done, like you said, plenty of events similar, of course, in the music field. But I mean, it's WWE being like at that press junket and seeing what I've kind of referenced now as like the internet in real time, because you're seeing, you know, all these other journalists you see on, you know, social media and YouTube and whatnot. It was amazing. I was like, wow, okay, this is how it goes. And to see how the process is to file in for interviews, it literally is like a cheese line. You stand in line and you get your 5 minutes with who's ever at that podium at that time. So it was a very interesting experience and one of my favorites, I gotta say, by far.
Wow. This is awesome. When you said you were going, I was just hyped for you.
Dog, it exceeded my expectations. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was gonna be like, some good, mid-carders and good, maybe 1 or 2 headliners in there, but they brought through some heavy hitters through that press junket, and I appreciate that.
That's awesome. Yeah, and again, like it's cool to see that they're treating SummerSlam as such a big deal because of what they got planned coming for that event in the next couple of years. But before we get into wrestling stuff, because we got a lot to talk about, but I gotta say, we had a conversation last week, Meelz, and I was just like, I'm just cautiously optimistic about niggas. And this morning I was like, damn, what's going on? Is the world like, is it backwards day?
What do you mean?
I just feel like, politically, I just feel like we're in backwards day right now.
Can I have I have a take if we're going hashtag political.
Make it quick.
All right. I have a take. So I feel like we talk about parasocial relationships, right?
Yeah.
I think like the familyfication, I don't know if that's a word of like political, like the auntification, the uncle, like, oh, you're just our cousin. Oh, that's like, Mama Kamala, Mama Kamala. Shit like that, like that. I'm weird on that just because I feel like these people are political figures and don't actually owe us any, like, they're not your family is what I'm essentially saying. So like, I feel like
niggas do that with Kendrick Lamar. So I mean, you can't really,
man,
you can't really like.
But I'm like, this is even worse, right? Like, this isn't like.
I would argue it's the same. It's the same type of lies.
Interesting. Okay.
I think it's like you could put music in there, you could put Kendrick in there, you could put Kamala, and you could put Khan. I hate for it to be KKK, but
ooh.
hey, pick a K.
I'm dead. Oh my God. Listen, we got a lot to talk about this week. Like, this is kind of crazy how much we have to talk about this week. How much the week of pro wrestling has kind of moved. And the way that we're talking about this early is because there's so fucking much. We got to get into SummerSlam. There's a bunch of AEW stuff that happened on the build of SummerSlam. You would think they built into their own goddamn pay-per-view with the amount of shit that happened.
They're building themselves out of their pay-per-view. That's what they're doing.
Can I say something for a minute? Quick, like the AEW All In card, just real quick. Like, I don't think it's that bad on paper. It like legitimately feels like probably what you should book for your biggest show of the year. But then also like the baggage that comes of being an AEW fan. There's contracts that are coming up. There's fights in the backstage. Like everyone thought the fighting was done when Punk left.
I know.
Everyone,
Those poor walls backstage are concerning as well.
everyone thought everything was done. I want to start before we get into AEW stuff. I want to start something from last week Tuesday, because last week Tuesday was NXT Great American Bash. Of course, you can listen to Plus and Cyrus talk about that on the War Report last week. Can we talk about Joe Hendry for a second?
If it's gonna be negative, no, because I felt like that segment was a home run. Like that segment was really good.
No, the segment was amazing. I'm more so of the fact that the news of Joe Hendry gets to use the PC. Joe Hendry gets it's feeling. I'm starting to look at this relationship between TNA and NXT. I'm like, we're very intimate the way we moving with this relationship. How do you guys feel like this NXT? Because it's coming out now that I guess Joe Hendry can train at the PC now. He can kind of do things there. It's like essentially he's becoming a character on this show more than the character. I mean, I don't watch Impact, but seemingly a bigger character on this show than maybe he may be on his own show. Like, what do you guys think? Just real quick on like this entire relationship and how it's continuing to build week by week.
It's gonna get to a point where TNA is gonna look at Shawn Michaels and be like, "What are we?" We're not at that point yet. All right. I think that right now they're just having fun, and they're just having a blast right now. However, the relationship, and I mean to your point, Meelz, I would actually reach across and say also the Rascals, who are going for tag team gold, and I think they're going to win.
Right.
So, like, it's a lot of stuff going down, but it's also WWE being ready to lend their star power to something that what people would consider is lower than them, and making it feel equal, and saying that there's talent across the board in other places if you're willing to play ball. And I think that what the issue has always been with AEW is that, like, it was always like, well, we did it first. We did it. We stuck it to them. And then we went over to AEW and pretty much just slapped them across the neck and gave them black neck. Remember the name Black Neck?
Yeah.
When they slap your neck.
That's what they call it different up here.
Oh, we call it Black Neck in the South, which is pretty racist now that I say it out loud. Because it's like, who got the blackest neck on the bus? That's like terrible. Have we ever like breached how terrible that is? Like, black neck is terrible, okay? But that's what they did to them. Maybe let's not call it black neck. Maybe just call it white neck. All right.
Oh my god!
To TNA, and I think ultimately what they're doing right now, and even Triple H even mentioned it during the press conference after SummerSlam, is basically making something beneficial for both parties. The Joe Hendry side is interesting because I'm not aware of his contract being up anytime soon, but would they have someone from WWE go to the other side and have the same type, well, they don't got a PC, but like have the same type of relationship or work down there? But I would imagine that probably be what Wesley is probably going to end up doing, right?
Right. Yeah, no, I would assume so. Like, the relationship they're so intertwined, and it's funny you bring up the AEW one, because you look at like how seemingly they're trying to bring a mutual relationship that's beneficial for both. But when you look at that Forbidden Door, I guess it's just their relationship with New Japan is just like card by card. It doesn't really feel like an actual mutual relationship, even though they have plenty of wrestlers who's been featured on New Japan, plenty of those who are current champions, past champions, all these other stuff. But it doesn't really feel as intimate as the relationship between these two. And you got to think, like, it's probably in the best interest for AEW to continue to help build up New Japan, who is going through their own, like, I legitimately have not heard a single word about the G1. Like a single word.
You hear about the N1.
Not seriously.
The nigga one.
Name one.
Tavion Heights is in right now, and Josh Briggs.
Why'd I just okay? But no, it's just I've heard more about that than I've heard about the actual G1. So it'd probably be best in their interest to kind of build that. But no, this Joe Hendry, what he did on last week Tuesday, I thought was amazing. You got another great part 2 of Great American Bash. It's coming. If you're listening to this on Patreon, it's tonight. If you're listening to this, it was last night. But then NXT also announced literally moments ago that they're going on the road for their first 2 shows for when NXT goes to CW, and I was like, whoa.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I mean, it's that bag, yo. It's the bag. Let's just be real. Like CW gave them a considerable increase from what USA was giving them, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first 2 weeks are Chicago at Allstate and at St. Louis the next week, and it will actually be going head to head with AEW on that Tuesday. That's the title Tuesday. I would expect a lot of belly aching on that day but also you got to remember, like, CW, how many homes is it in? Let's see. How many homes is the CW network in? How many homes? 98% of television homes, U.S. television homes. What would that be, like, roughly?
Yeah, I'm trying to find that number now.
99% is kind of crazy.
Very, very.
Feels cap.
It's not though, because it's basic cable. So even if you just plug a TV in, you got the CW.
Let's see. It says, hold on. Their latest thing says
20 million homes. Am I reading that correctly?
That makes sense. It's in more homes than TBS.
Right, for sure.
For sure. And, it's the 5th major broadcast network.
Yep.
So, it's not crazy for them to blow them out, even if they didn't have Cody Rhodes popping in. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Mind you, listen, Randy Orton just tweeted, HBK, if you're bringing NXT to my backyard, count me in.
Oh, no.
Taco Tuesday, fam. Hey.
Randy Orton on NXT is nuts.
He's on Raw this week. I just think that we're in a rare moment, I guess, in at least just being a WWE fan, where, like, we're out of the doldrums of, like, the 2018 through 2020 kind of run, and we're kind of in a fun period. We can kind of breathe a little bit. I know there's some things people are going to be upset about at SummerSlam. We'll get into that, but we can kind of breathe a little bit,
Listen. This is gonna be fun, but I'm that's what famous last words. But there's so much stuff going on with NXT brand. It's starting a couple months on CW. Looking forward to that. So that's what happened on Tuesday. I'm literally gonna go through this whole week. Wednesday was it Wednesday or was it Thursday? There was some very
it was Wednesday. If it is what I think you're talking about, it was Wednesday, right before Dynamite.
I'm talking about Miss Sasha Mercedes.
Oh, Lord.
Listen, it's part of the news junket. Or is it? I don't know. Sasha Mercedes, the announcement that she is now getting divorced from her, I guess, former husband. His name is
Sarath, but they call them Makazi in the ring.
An interesting way to roll this out. You know what I'm saying? I think I looked at it in terms of the news. The first thing I saw when the news came out, I was like, why do we need to know this? But I guess, I don't know, she's in this new phase of her life where she feels more liberated and able to speak, even though she's like never. My thing with my question about it was, you've never shared anything like this before.
Yeah, or not anything like this. Anything.
Yeah,
right.
Like, even you've had interviews. I remember the Ariel Hawani interview. I felt like it was like pulling teeth. Like, and that's someone who you generally open with. You know what I'm saying? I've seen her in so many different interviews. Just like, not necessarily she has to talk about her personal life. And to be honest with you, no one really asked about the personal situation. But a whole rollout. I guess somewhere on Wednesday it was leaked, and I use leaked in kind of air quotes.
Well, a fan online had found it first. A couple days before, I seen it on Twitter.
I guess to get ahead of the situation, it was I guess then announced on TMZ, and then she also rolled it out as part of her Mone Talks, which is I guess this talk show that's coming up. And she talked about it for a minute on the thing. I thought this was, I don't know. I got mixed feedback when I kind of like posted what I did on Twitter.
What'd you post? I didn't see it.
I posted essentially like, this all seems weird, because to me it does seem weird. Someone who generally never shares anything at all deciding to share this part of her life, and not necessarily, it doesn't feel like it's coming from a I'm trying to share more about my life from a personal standpoint. It seems more of like trying to leverage good, I don't know, support, or like,
I think it's weird in the sense that like it kind of frames her ex-husband as like is there something about him we should know? You know what I'm
right,
saying? Why you feel this way? Like, is there something we should know? Like I'm all for like liberation and empowering yourself. I think the strangeness comes from like doing a whole pod about it, because it feels it not just rollout. It feels kind of like targeted. It feels kind of like, okay, I want I'm opening up in this way, and it doesn't really feel the most genuine. And maybe that's the most genuine to her. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Who's to say? We don't know this person, but
right.
I think that obviously when you do that, like not everyone's gonna, you open yourself up to criticism anyway. So anyone who gets upset about that is crazy. Like not everyone's gonna have 100% agreement of like this was the right way to do this. You know what I'm saying? Just because just having it out on TMZ is crazy. Like a tweet would have sufficed, an email would have sufficed. You have a newsletter.
You have a newsletter,
Like
which is
I don't know. It just feels like it would be like if like Lana and Rusev did that. You know what I'm saying? Like it would just be like, okay, well, thanks for letting
yeah.
me know.
It was
To
very much
me,
on schedule. Like it just seemed like it just dropped. As soon as the TMZ report dropped, the entire pod clip dropped very shortly thereafter. And I'm like, man, this is like, do they have like a schedule for this?
and it didn't feel like one of those things where like, you hear back in the day with like old news publications, like, we're going to be posting this, so do you have any comments about it or anything like that, because it's going live, whether they would tell the news beforehand or something along those lines, and like maybe someone tried to stop the news from getting out. No one tried to stop this news from getting out. It got out. It was then discussed. It's just, I don't know, like for me, my big thing with Sasha has always been like, it doesn't feel, a lot of things don't necessarily feel genuine. Like I feel like at the end of the day, I feel like a lot of her, especially she talked about in 2019 when she went and stepped back, when she was like, she couldn't separate the character from herself. I'm like, I don't think you've learned anything from that instance, because I don't think you can separate who you think you are from who you actually are.
Yeah.
And
It all seemed like in character to a point where, and that's that, and that may be the point that you're getting at, but like there's a cognitive dissonance with her where every single interview she does is always in character, and there's never a switch on and off. So when it comes out immediately she's doing this, it almost feels like, are we working? Are we shooting here?
Yeah.
Like, is
Yeah.
this Mercedes Mone saying this, or is this like, you know what I mean? Is this Mercedes Varnado saying this? So it's like you do all your interviews in character, and then this one time you're like, well, I'm free.
I'm free.
Like,
Free is crazy, by the way. But I
yeah,
mean, free is it's a feeling though. It just is what it is.
But she mentions there that they were separated for a while. She didn't want to say it out. She didn't want to say it when she was in WWE because she felt like Vince was really obsessed with her and Reggie at the time. And I was like, did those timelines like set up? Because she was definitely there after he left that first time, right? Like, and she had already been apart from Reggie for at least a year at that point, right?
Yeah. So she left right before Vince actually stepped away. So I don't know if it was really holding over her head that like this separation would affect anything of her own professional status, especially with Vince. I'm not sure. I mean, these are questions that like, I guess if someone wanted to ask, I feel like she wouldn't give the answer to.
Yeah,
I can't lie. I feel like that little tidbit was thrown in just so the people had something to bite on. It's like, you see, she couldn't even come out with her own divorce because Vince wouldn't let her.
Yeah. But I mean, I get it in the standpoint of like, I think it's something where she didn't want it to affect the storyline that was going on, which
Right.
we've seen before, like the whole Lana thing and how the Summer Rae thing ended up being like pretty much thrown out because of what Lana did through this news. So I think she didn't necessarily want to do that. But I don't know. It feels like the little tidbit of information to me doesn't necessarily, I don't know. I guess maybe I have questions is what I'm saying, but I know I'm not going to get answers to them. So it is what it is.
You'll get it through her InfoWars, aka her podcast. Let's move on from her because I always feel like the back of my neck start getting hot when we start talking about her.
All right, let's move on. Thursday. Well, there's a lot of things that happen on Thursday. I'm trying to figure out, do I actually want to? We'll get to it when we get to it because it affects the SummerSlam card, so we'll get to it there. But something else so I'll skip Thursday and I'll go to Friday. Wrestling Observer newsletter reports that Britt Baker had been suspended from AEW due to an argument that she got in with MJF. Oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
The argument supposedly stemmed from the massive match between MJF and Will Ospreay that in the initial reports apparently affected the time of something that was supposed to happen with Willow and Statlander, and Britt Baker wasn't happy with it.
Oh, let me just add that this was just let me just interrupt you here. This was just announced. CM Punk will be at AEW or at NXT on October 1st, and Randy Orton will be at NXT on October 8th. So that's
fire. That's fire.
Well, listen. If it goes, we'll check the numbers. That's gonna be awesome though. No, and that kind of like led to apparently it's something where it was said in the women's locker room where Britt Baker was talking about her displeasure with kind of like everything that happened. She was talking shit, but it is what it is. MJF's girlfriend Alicia Tout was in the locker room. She quickly gave that information to MJF. MJF
stooged. You say what it is. She stooged.
MJF comes to the.
That's something you bring up when y'all get home, not when you at work.
Yeah, she just got there. You know what I'm saying? He just got you the job. That's crazy.
MJF pulls up to the women's locker room. I guess knocks on the door because apparently that's a little bit of a tidbit. He acts as if everyone was decent before he can come in. And got in an argument with Britt Baker, and it led to Britt Baker being suspended from AEW television, which is why I guess she wasn't on AEW last week.
Well, it was weird because she wasn't there, and no one said anything. No one had like said anything about her.
Because technically, I guess she didn't get beat up or something like similar to Daniel Garcia.
She did, but if you weren't following what was going on, and someone actually reminded me of this,
she did.
Someone reminded me of this in our chat today was that she was at the Comic-Con thing, the little scuffle.
Yeah. She was at the SDCC. Yeah, I remember.
So if you didn't know that was going on, you would have thought that she just got taken out by Camille, but they never just mentioned it the next week, and they didn't mention anything. AEW never mentions anything that goes on. Not even like she tweaked her knee at Comic-Con and she's not going to be gone. Like she's just gone off TV. So I had done the War Report that week when Camille debuted. Comic-Con was later that week. The match gets announced, and then she's off TV last week, and like nothing. Like Mercedes doesn't even cut a promo on her. She just says, "Hey, like this is the money team or whatever the fuck the name is." And listen, there are so many questions and so many like things to get to with this, but I think the main thing is that, and I say this about Britt Baker, there is allegedly so much stuff that has gone on with her, with other talent in the locker room for the past couple years, with talent, male talent now, female talent as well. All of this stuff is going on. The stuff that she tweeted about before she took that break earlier this year, Meelz, the stuff where she was like, I only got like 3 minutes of promo time and MJF gets like 20 or something like that. Like the shady likes that she has. This discontent, but that happens mostly to the top stars in the company who are the most vocal about it. This usually happens before a tragic event. Let me just be clear. A tragic, and I'm not saying a fatal event. I'm talking about a tragic event for the company. Something that happens backstage. Suspensions rarely ever make people better in AEW. It only pisses them off. So if you think and you know that she's already pissed off, and mind you, she's already on Instagram stories and Twitter already doing subtweets and shit also in response to all of these reports.
I just think it's impossible to properly follow this promotion if one, you don't have an Observer subscription, and two, you're not on X or Twitter like that, because how else would you know? Like you said, this program has been going on between MJF and Britt Baker for a while, since those tweets about MJF screen time that she put out there at random a while back, so there's all these underlying subplots that, again, if Dave isn't spelling it out for you in the Observer, or somebody isn't aggregating Dave's thoughts on the timeline, how in the hell would you actually even follow this promotion properly?
This is strange, for a myriad of reasons, but it doesn't seem like, I guess there's been several, ever since the Observer, now there's been multiple reports that kind of come out. Fightful dropped their own report of like adding to kind of like what happened and gave much more of the details. Wrestle Purist has come out and kind of like added more to that, of like trying to, I don't know. To be honest with you, it sounded like it came from MJF.
Job. That's the thing too. It's like, if she feels as though, and to my point I was making earlier, if she feels as though she's still been wrong, she's not going to come back feeling like she's been correctly, attributed to what's going on, because there's so many stories elsewhere that are happening. It's reminding me of the CM Punk incident.
Yeah, because to be honest with you, a lot of it's also playing out
the same
within
way.
the wrestling media. Yeah, in the same exact way. And that is now not only developing narratives, but also changing the perception of these people involved, right?
And listen, I'm not going to say that she's not at fault. I'm not going to say she hasn't been an asshole according to what we've heard or what we've seen. I'm not going to say any of that stuff. But I'm telling you that if I'm Tony Khan right now, I would be doing more than a fucking suspension. I would be getting these people in a room so that they can talk it out, so that nothing else happens. I do not think it's a good idea for her to be going also against someone with a huge ego like a Mercedes Moné, and someone like Britt Baker and her as the first program, y'all, is fucking crazy. Especially with what's going on right now with Britt Baker. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. I'm just shocked they haven't had more promos against each other, because I know it's about to get nasty in the next couple weeks. Real shit.
I don't think Mercedes can get nasty. I think
she kind of got handled in that first promo. All she had was a line, bitch.
Yeah, she's not wired in the way to mouth off like Britt does. Like, you can clearly see if Britt was talking shit in the ring to Mercedes, she was talking cash shit backstage about MJF. She was like,
I just don't see this ending well. And I'm gonna be real. How do you not, like, with the discontent publicly out there, right?
Yeah.
How do you not look at it and be like, maybe she needs to sit down for a while, or maybe
because she just came back.
Well, maybe we need to talk about. I don't think that by the end of the year she's gonna want to be there anymore. I don't think she wants to be there right now.
But I also think you also have to. That's not, if I'm the boss, I'm looking at the way MJF handled it, and I'm like, that's probably not the best way to handle it. Right. Usually, to be honest with you, we do all these, like, every job you do the workplace violence thing, and it's like, oh, it's due at the end of July, and you do it like July 29th or some shit like that. But it clearly states, usually in these kind of situations, like, if there's some sort of an issue, you go to someone who can help remediate this situation. You don't necessarily go and handle it yourself. And I know this is the wrestling business. But even still, it's a new day. Also, it's a man kind of like running up on a woman. You can kind of see the optics of it. It's very, very strange to handle, kind of like business, locker room talk, just in general. Like,
I think that it's funny that they can't seem to clean this up no matter what they do anyway, because at the end of the day, the wall punching is shaky no matter who says it or how far away he did it.
Well, it's the egos that you presented, one by like major contracts, time on the show, positioning on the show, a lot of things like that. I feel like Britt Baker in this instance feels like, especially from what I gathered from this report, she feels like she's a leader in the women's locker room. And she feels like women aren't getting enough time on the show. Now, women have been getting multiple segments on the show. They've had multiple matches, even though one has usually been a squash match on the show. But I think she looks at it as a situation like these two are taking up prime real estate. Which she probably had the same questions we had about that 60-minute match. Why? You know what I'm saying? However, I feel like just in general, the way she kind of like handles it, well, I think you said it best in the Discord about if someone got let go, if it was just talking shit about your coworkers at work, all of us would be sent home.
Yeah,
Right.
If literally, if we were like, this is because Britt is a repeat offender, and I think
Right.
that if all the stories about her you didn't believe them, like this is proof that you should, because it wasn't just a slap on the wrist. They sent her ass home for an undisclosed amount of time. What was it? Is it a time? Do we know?
I don't know if there's a time. It might be a week, to be real with you. I don't know. I can't imagine they would tank their card for their show with one of these kind of like major matches with essentially this one marquee superstar. I don't think they would tank it. It's either a week or up to when they all have to fly out for that Dynamite that happens literally
Honestly,
in London.
nothing going on anyway with the program. What was going on? I don't think
shit.
I don't think she's gonna win the match. So I mean, ultimately, what's going on?
I think it's just funny that the men and women who consider themselves the de facto leaders of their respective locker rooms in AEW all have the same point at the end of the day. We were here first. That's all they care about. That's all this shit is about. We were here first.
It's sounding real GOP, huh?
Right.
Just saying. It's backwards day. Just saying.
I'm interested to see how this kind of plays out long term. It would be great if you learned anything from the CM Punk situation, is to help mediate this thing and get to a sort of resolution, even if it isn't. These two will rarely ever, if any, work together. Men and women don't work together in AEW, just at all. You wouldn't think that men date women or anything of the rather in AEW. They just don't work together. But you would want to build like a locker room where there isn't tension. And then also with MJF's girlfriend, who felt the need to like report this information. Yeah, you got to get the boot, girl. What else could you be saying? You know what I'm saying? Like that's just locker room code. Like
in my eyes, you started it.
Mm-hmm.
In my eyes, you started it. You started it.
Yeah. It's more professional when you hold it down. Like you said, you could have waited till you got home and had that, discussion within the confines of wherever you guys are at, but not, in a space where MJF can immediately confront this person about what they allegedly said or didn't say.
Yeah, and to MJF's points, go to HR, nigga.
Yes.
Right. Whatever they go to Calvin, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Let them figure it out. Let them figure it out. Snakes in the grass. Shut up.
What wrong with you, boy? Go to like HR works, bro. That's one thing I will say. HR will always work. Sometimes in your benefit, not always, but sometimes in your benefit. Like, fuck out of here.
I don't know. The problems with AEW and what they have backstage just don't seem it can be handled by anyone there. Tony Khan could probably handle it, but he refuses to.
I'm gonna be real. I'm not listening to no grown man named Brian. Keep it 100. Nor am I listening to a grown man named William, bruh. That's just what it is.
Or a QT, whatever that stands for. But I don't.
Especially if you're making more money than all of them, right? Like, and you're supposed to be bring the attention. You're a top star. Britt's a top star in the women's division. She just is. It's interesting the way that I guess it is because of the repeat offense, that MJF doesn't get really reprimanded in the same way it is, or at least it hasn't been reported that he's been reprimanded in the same way.
Listen.
Oh, actually, it was reported that I guess he received no punishment for anything
because he was defending his girlfriend. Listen, white male, top guy. The end.
That's how it always is.
What did I do wrong? I don't see what I did wrong.
Exactly. What do you mean?
Listen, this comes off the heels also of AEW doing terrible ratings for their show this week. So it's not like none of this is making anything better.
The latest but the last but was Juneteenth. This one is Olympics.
Olympics.
The last but was that was Compton Gary Coleman staring them all off.
That's right. You kidding me? Serious? We're all watching the pop out. We're not watching the main event. Oh yeah, sure.
That's the most I heard wrestling news talk about Kendrick Lamar ever in my life, and it was kind of wild.
And I tell you what, it'll be the last.
Right.
It'll be the last.
All right.
Hey, let's keep going. I'm 1-1 again.
So Friday pulls up. Plus, you're pulling up to press. You're pulling up to everything there. Let us know how was the SummerSlam festivities. You know what I'm saying? You're talking about the Damian Priest show, the Sami Zayn show. I made a joke about Sami Zayn. We don't know if he's actually funny or not. And I was like, damn, wouldn't it be crazy if he pulled the Chappelle thing and was like taking away everyone's phones? And you were like, that's exactly what that nigga does. And I was like, oh, hell. Oh, wow. Okay.
It's because he be cursing, I heard.
Yeah. so yeah, everybody was working blue that night, but I'll start from the top. I get over to the hotel about 8:30ish, 8:45, and the press junket starts promptly at 9, and there's already lines forming. Bayley's there, Gunther's there, and who am I forgetting here? Somebody's in the middle. It was Bayley, Gunther, and Braun Breaker. That's who it was, Braun Breaker. So initially, of course, the cheese line starts, for each of those. Oh, excuse me, and Rhea. Rhea had the longest line by far. It's like Rhea's line was insane. Like
surprise to no one, but yes,
exactly. Line through the door. But you get about 5 minutes with each star. So, people were kind of liberal with their time. You had others who were, kind of known in the wrestling media space who probably went a little bit longer than 5 minutes. And after a while, especially when it gets down to their allotted window of an hour closing, you start to get that look from WWE PR like, wrap it the fuck up. So, that happened. And then off to the side, they had 3 positions for each superstar to sit. And then they had one makeshift one off to the side. And that's where Baron Corbin walked into the room and just started doing interviews off to the side. It was like a makeshift setup, but he had fun with it. All in all, I thought it was a really good experience. Seeing how it's conducted. I thought it would be a little bit more open because I looked at WrestleMania, but obviously WrestleMania and SummerSlam, of course, is a little too different. But they had a lot of press fly in for this event. So I was surprised to see, some of the notable people such as Chris Van Vliet, Sean Ross Sapp was there. I saw Bill Apter. I was like, wow, that's Bill Apter right there. And then he asked,
you heard Bill Apter. Bill Apter acted weird.
Then he asked that question in post press. I was like, oh, gee, are you serious?
I feel like a lot of people wish he wasn't there. LA Knight really went off on him at the.
I told you LA was acting a fool in the presser. But, so I went from the press junket in the morning over to the Fanatics experience, where I was like, I've met so many people. I've been blessed to meet so many people in a lot of work that we do. And I said, for this weekend, bro, I'm going to be a fucking fan. I'm going to hit the WrestleCon. I'm going to hit the Fanatics experiences. I don't give a damn because it's coming to the city. So I had to take part in it.
Right.
And CM Punk was available at 10:30. So I was like, I'll be back. Y'all seem like y'all got a handle on this. My team who was conducting interviews, I'm going to go do this thing and I'm coming back. Bro, it's so funny. They tell you this photo op shit, they mean it. There is no type of interaction. There's no autograph at this Fanatics experience. This is a photo op.
There's no professing Punk, your match changed my life or anything or rather.
Yo, I'm telling you, he extended a pound. I'll tell you much. You walk up to him, he extends a pound, looks back at that camera. You could be talking, but he's still looking at that camera. He's not looking at nothing. You're thinking about nothing you're talking about. The picture gets snapped. He gives you another pound, and you walk off. So that happened, and I'm like, yo, okay, that was cool, but that was pretty prompt. It was in and out. So I go back over to the press junket, and I heard that I just missed Dom over there, who was seemed to be partaking in the festivities a little early. So he was a little early in the day. Shout out to Dom having fun.
He's a young nigga, man.
What you expect, right? I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad. Yo, enjoy the city. What else? I think Drew Mack popped in, but he didn't actually sit at one of the podiums for any press opportunities. I think he was there for Busted Open because Busted Open, I want to say, was on the same floor as the press junket, but they were
what? What's that?
Busted open, not busted open.
Oh, okay,
busted open. Busted
Oh,
open.
busted. Okay,
Busted
okay.
open radio.
Sorry.
So they had him like secluded because I think they had Cody on their show Friday morning. So they were somewhere on that floor, but they were of course away from everybody else. But that was definitely a great experience. And from there went to Damian Priest Live, which was at like the press junket ends at 12. Damian Priest Live started at 12:30ish. I mean, they weren't expecting, of course, people to come over from that to there in mass. But really good documentary, of course. The 24 doc is out now. I was surprised to see Punk pop out. Punk popped out for him. He said corporate wanted him to do a few other events during this window, but he said, "Nah, I got to show for my man Priest." So I respected that. And of course, as you see in the picture, Punk is in at the kickoff later. He was suited up all day. Like Punk is like, yo, like he's looking like Kenny Doan back there. Like he about to put matches together and shit.
Nigga, Punk came the day before for the PC tryouts thing. I'm like, yo, what is this?
Bro, my man loves his job. What's wrong with that?
He pulled up, he drove in, probably like talking on speakerphone, like, John, where we at in the building? What floor? Where we at? Pulled up a table, took a fucking what's the thing? Started taking some notes, started giving some tips. I was like, God damn, man, this guy's he's everywhere, bro. He's loving this.
Nah, he's loving it.
I love the CM Punk picture that you took because that's full circle too. I know that like you and I were huge fans of him like back in 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like for that to have, I was like, damn, man, my nigga's really living the dream. I don't know if I'm there yet. I don't know if I'm there to take a picture with him yet, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of healing that needs to go into that.
No, I understand, and like I would be remiss if I said I had to put on the 6-year anniversary tee. Like when me and Meelz talked about, like I'm glad you got the tee, but no, seriously, like I had to rep the brand during the press junket day. That was important to me, man. So and especially taking that pic with Punk because, like you said, man, listen, man. You called me the night of the pipe bomb because I think I was recording. I DVR'd it at my girl's house, and I think I just missed Raw. I went up there like maybe 11:10, something like that. You text me like, bro, did you fucking see that? And I was like, nah. And I went back and watched it. It was just like, of course and all. So yeah, you're right. That was a full circle moment right there. I had to take part in that, But the Priest doc was really good. The Priest event was really good. Peter Rosenberg conducted the interviews with not only Punk, but Rhea and Dom popped out. Of course, Gunther popped out as well. They put that on social. But Dom had one of the funniest lines ever because they're talking about how, they all bonded, of course, being on the road together, traveling together. And Dom's like, I mean, I know some of y'all may not know this, but I've been around. I've been here since 2005. And that's like a massive pop from everybody because, of course, you go back to them being a kid. But no, all in all, I didn't know that Priest and Eddie and Rango went back as far as they did. I think that they both tried out together. So like that.
I mean, I guess we could touch on that too. Meelz, did you see the documentary?
No, I haven't seen the documentary yet, but I know that's like his man's. Like they travel everywhere together.
Mm-hmm. Shockingly emotional documentary and effectual documentary. Like I did not expect it to hit on what it does just in terms of like the emotional beats and his story. And there's a lot of stuff that I feel like I could have gone another 30-45 minutes with that because there's a lot of stuff that like really opens up Priest's character and what he was trying to do and where he was at in life and things like that. And I thought it was a home run. I thought it was better than what was the most latest one they did? I don't know. That would probably be the Bray one. Actually, I really like the Bray one too.
Yeah, Bray.
I mean, they're all strong, okay, but like I think that like ultimately like this one is really cool because in the moment you see like the Judgment Day, their closeness. And I thought that was a really cool moment in the documentary, and there's just so many really really dope moments that they kind of show off there.
Yeah, it was really good. I thought the event, like you said, the documentary and the event went off really well. And from that moment, I mean, I just had to go like take a breather for a second, man. I took the day off. I was just like, let me just check my emails, catch up a little bit, because in between that time, which is maybe roughly like 2:00, and then the kickoff at 5. I even like lamed out on the kickoff because I thought it was gonna be 2 hours, but it was actually 1. I was like, man, I'm just moving all day. I need a breather. Like I need to catch my breath. Like,
nah, it's a lot. Like the WWE has managed to position themselves like they are in the content business as much as anybody else. Like the fact that the schedule now is like the kickoff show, which is like a pep rally or something along those lines, and then like do the actual, then head to SmackDown, right? Which I'm assuming is what you're about to talk about.
Yeah, no, I was about to go to SmackDown. I thought we could talk about that for sure. Because, yeah, I mean, I thought it was definitely the go home. And outside of the promo, and I guess you could say the main event, it was paint by numbers SmackDown, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm. You had the 2 title matches that I guess it was kind of like positioned around that. We kicked off with Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill versus Alba Fire and Ilya Dawn. J5, what are your kind of like thoughts on how everything went down in that match?
It made sense. It made sense, right? Like you don't want to beat either team. I think they've actually gone a long way to protect those two, even if they haven't, always been like a major moment on the shows. But now they will be. I thought that it helped redirect Blair Davenport, who was kind of floundering in a lot of ways on that show, and I think that like Raw could learn a thing or two about that with how they're treating Kiana James right now and Lyra Valkyria, and how to kind of redirect them the way they're supposed to be. It just makes sense for those 3 to be together, and those 3 being Alba, Isla, and Blair. It just makes sense for them to be together, and to have that really like that beatdown was actually really effectual. They beat the shit out of them girls, and I thought like, okay, we have the start of a really big stable at this point on SmackDown. And the match wasn't too bad either. I think Jade is I can say a good wrestler. She's a good wrestler, bro.
She's coming along. I think I think what she's doing now, I would love to see her more in singles roles now. I understand she's doing the tag stuff, but I feel like just to be able to think on her feet, be able to do a little bit more things, because she usually comes in off the hot tag. Well, I guess Bianca had the hot tag this time. Bianca was on fire. Yeah. Bianca was good. It was
like the Road Warriors out there. That's what they look like.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, but it's great that Blair Davenport kind of like landed in this. It makes sense. Trios are literally the thing nowadays. It's like the new hotness. You know what I'm saying? So it makes a lot of sense with how everything is kind of going on all the shows. Then we had, the show kicked off with Andrade Carmelo Part 2, which Andrade getting another win.
I was surprised that match got that much time. And I think everybody in the arena was as well. Not saying it was a good match, but I was just surprised that it got that much time.
I think literally, that's what I was literally about to say that.
I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
Yeah, nothing else going on. So.
Right. Right.
It literally had nothing else going on. It was like, all right, well, this is y'all SummerSlam. Make sure y'all go off. You know what I'm saying? It was a good match, so I'll continue that. I'm sure it'll lead with, even though Andrade will probably win more matches, I'm sure it'll end with Carmelo getting the last laugh or something along those lines. Then we had Tiffany gets her new Money in the Bank briefcase. It looks really good. That's going to be something that plays into SummerSlam a little bit.
Also, then the weird moment with Chelsea. I'm like, are we supposed to believe these 2 heels would be facing off against each other? But I guess that's going to happen.
That was odd. I saw that. I was like, okay.
Then the main event, DIY versus the Bloodline. We have new WWE Tag Team Champions.
It plays into SummerSlam though. And again, okay, I did say 2 weeks ago I hated the decision, and I knew that it was going to happen because I called it.
Yes,
definitely happening. I mean, it served 2 purposes, right? One of them being you want DIY to chase and eventually get it. I get it. The other one being you wanted to make it seem like Cody was going to lose, which like you don't need to do that because I don't think a Soul Alive thought that Solo was going to win that title.
Not a damn.
No.
So like, and I think that's what gives me the biggest frustration about that decision to make them drop the titles. They just don't need them. I think again, there's very few people on that roster right now that like could face off against them. So it's like now you're looking at it where it's like, okay, is KO and Randy gonna get those titles? And it's like, oh no, they're not. So it has to realistically go to either them or the Profits, right? So it looks like it may be the Profits jockeying to get their revenge on the Bloodline at this point, which they've been waiting for months.
Yeah, but they've been shorthanded at every fucking step of the way. Like these niggas do not beat the Bloodline at all. And it's interesting considering everything that happened on SummerSlam, how these tag titles will play. I mean, they probably just Probably just waiting for a rematch or something along those lines. Give it a couple weeks.
Tournament.
Oh yeah, probably a tournament. But nah, I still wasn't. I'm keeping it up with you. I still wasn't happy with the result. I would rather. People were. I mean, I think it was. There was kind of varying reactions online about it. Some people say the tag team titles needed something like the Bloodline because the Bloodline are way more interesting than what they're doing. But I'm kind of from the standpoint of I feel like the tag division needs to come along where it hasn't come along in a number of years. You look at people like the Profits who are just kind of like sitting there trying to figure it out. You look at people like Pretty Deadly who are an incredibly talented team. I can see Pretty Deadly legitimately going back down to NXT and challenging for those titles again. That's kind of where I feel like they're at right now. Because as long as they're on heels, Pretty Deadly is probably not going to challenge for the titles out directly unless they turn faces, which could potentially happen. You have no idea. But yeah, I don't think the Bloodline needed the titles, but I guess you got to set that in motion for SummerSlam or something.
Yeah, it's just safe. Like, like the Bloodline already is a larger arc anyway, and putting the tag titles on Tama and Jacob is just, like you said, it's safe. There's no added oomph putting the tag titles on. It's just, they're just a part of what the Bloodline is. But to establish a team, like, to reestablish the Profits, to establish DIY, to establish Pretty Deadly, I would want the tag titles on one of those three groups. But yeah, putting them on the Bloodline is just kind of like, okay, well, they'll be seen every week because we'll see the Bloodline every week. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's what that is actually true as hell. Like, it's always going to be the Bloodline. It always is going to be the Bloodline, and like you shouldn't hold them out like that. Like I'm quite sure that they're going to get theirs because that's just the way that the
I think H loves them. Yeah, H loves them.
They're going to get theirs. Okay, like no doubt about it, they're going to get theirs. But
I'm sure he's telling them like, don't worry, guys. You'll get them back. You'll be hotter than it is. Just wait on it. Let it play out. Lipo, remember. It's a matter of time.
Because Priest mentions the cash-in stuff during the documentary, and he says, "Well, you know what Triple H told me? He said all the trash that they're talking, throw it back in their faces." I'm like, nigga, the trash they're talking is because of you.
Hold me down. That's what he said before he gets into the curtain.
What? I was like, Damien, I would have slapped the shit out that nigga.
Like, they're calling me all types of names. I'm here in a tag team title match, losing to Awesome Truth. That was you, nigga.
That was night one. You show them what night two's about.
Oh my god! I mean, we gonna get to it at the end when we get to Raw, but he had the being right. But
that shit was crazy. But yeah,
SummerSlam. Let's get to it. This may be potentially the last one night SummerSlam that we ever have. But boy, it was a doozy. Kicked off with Jelly Roll making a live performance. How was the Jelly Roll performance live? Plus, were people into it?
I mean, people were ready for SummerSlam to start. It's just one of the things like, okay, we got to get through this, and after this, I think it's gonna start. It's kind of the vibe. Everybody's amped. It's a hot crowd, but yeah, nobody's really. I didn't hear anybody sing along the Liar, even though after experiencing SummerSlam, that song definitely fit the bill. So,
you nothing but a liar.
I was like, okay, all right, I hear it. We kick off SummerSlam. Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley. Highly anticipated Women's World Championship match. Dirty Dominic Mysterio's in the corner of Rhea Ripley, but he doesn't stay in the corner of Rhea Ripley. He makes the big turn on Big Rhea. What are your guys' thoughts on how this played out? This was more, even though I think the match was I wasn't really into like my shoulders fucking tore out. Let me pop my shoulder back in. I was like, all right, I get it.
Why were you not into that? That was badass.
I thought it was just
popped to that moment. I can't lie. It was a big turning point for the crowd.
I don't know. To me, it's like if your shoulder popped out, you'd be done. I don't know. I've seen, I guess from SummerSlam history, if someone's shoulders popped out, they usually were kind of done.
If your shoulder popped out, nigga, you're done. This Rhea Ripley, nigga.
How do we feel about the big dirty Dominic?
Whoa.
The big dirty Dominic turn.
I was just gonna say, have we seen a nigga maybe since like prime Triple H like turn heel, like from heel to more heel in a minute? It's been a while.
This nigga is just from heel to dirtbag. Like,
How you more of a piece of shit, bro? Like, how does that happen? Like, what?
listen. Well,
No.
do you think this was? There's a lot of people they bringing up the Becky Lynch thing now. They're bringing up all these things. Do you feel like that's part of the story that they were kind of trying to tell from the like that Dominic Mysterio was in on this all along, or do you feel like maybe it was just something that was decided a lot sooner?
Probably sooner, right?
Yeah, I would think that like if I'm just watching, just to be watching, I would say, yeah, once Liv put that thing on him, is he made a decision. You know?
Yeah. Like I thought Monday was going to be the big just blowout. Having that be the through line, and Triple H loves to do that. He did it with Mania. The through line of the story is that all of these matches matter later.
Right.
And so like that match mattering later to, there were two big convergence points. It was the Finn convergence point and it was the Dom and Liv convergence point for those two people. And I think that they handled it. And again, the callbacks are crazy. We got to give a shout out to the continuity experts at the review, because calling back to how she won the title from Becky, you call it right back there. I love the little shitty smirk that Dom gave that y'all probably didn't see in the crowd, but we saw it on TV. He gives a smirk when he does the turn. So it was more of a shock to y'all that it happened. And then the pickup, the camera work, but that was great. Where she's on the ground, and you see his feet, and he picks her up, and then the kiss. And Rhea played it perfectly. Dom played it perfectly to perfection at that. And I thought it was a great opening match just to kind of set you off and be like, this is the, and I'll say it right now, SummerSlam is the reset show. This is the show where we're just going to blow
Boy, was it.
And they just blew everything up on the show. And, that was showing you that this is going to be the theme of the night, is everything is getting blown up.
How was the kind of live reaction to this match, Plus?
Oh man, I mean the reaction throughout, like I said, from the moment she popped her shoulder back in on the announcer's table, it was on high from the whole time. I mean, they were with it, but in the beginning, but that it just hit a new gear with that moment. But of course, when he lifted Liv off the ground, that was one pop, and then the kiss was just like nuclear. It was crazy. Like the energy was. It was on 10 at that moment, and then just looking back on the screen and seeing Rhea, who what was that? Was that lipstick on her teeth? Like I know she wasn't like anything.
Yeah,
Okay.
It was a lipstick.
It just added to like her just being wrought. Like, she had been through the ringer in the match alone, but now seeing this happen in front of her, devastating. So that I just thought everything was played perfectly to a T.
Yeah, and I mean, and to that point as well, it's like I think at this point it's going to take nothing short of like Rey Mysterio being stabbed or Dom or Rey Mysterio being stabbed and Dom coming to his aid for Dom to ever be a babyface. I don't think he will ever be able to be like what was it like when Randy Orton finally became a face? Like it took
what was that?
It low key, it was big, and then it wasn't because Triple H beat him literally the pay-per-view afterwards.
Oh, the first turn? Okay, yeah, the first turn with the thumbs down, but like 09, 10, whenever he got at Punk versus Punk at WrestleMania 28, I know 27 rather. I missed how he turned face. I don't know how he did it.
He just turned face. I'm just gonna be real.
I'm sure that was it because people love Randy anyway. So it'll be interesting, even when it's like, you've got major, like, we call this an anime, death flags for Cody with the whole Randy Orton thing. Mm-hmm. I'm interested to see how that even lasts because people love Randy no matter what. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how that plays out. The following match, Intercontinental Championship match, Braun Breaker finally dethroned Sami Zayn. Match is 5 minutes and 40 seconds. I did not know. I did not remember it going that short, but it definitely did.
Extremely short match. And I think effective for what it was trying to do. I'm not gonna lie. Like it was effective in just showing you like, listen, like it's his time. I obviously predicted that Sami should come out with it, and that's just because of my own feelings about how where Braun should sit, kind of like in the hierarchy of things. But they felt like it was time, and Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that like Braun deserves that shit. You know what I'm saying? He's definitely garnered that support. It's really hard for people to boo this man at this point, right? Like
Mhm.
even in the crowd that night, they were very much not fucking with booing Braun Breaker at that point. And it's gonna be tough for him to stay baby or to stay heel for very long because of just how he is. He's gonna have to do something really diabolical for that. And I think booking him in a 2 out of 3 falls match against Sami Zayn will not get him the type of hatred that he probably needs right now.
Nah.
Right.
But
I didn't
probably
realize it was. Oh, I'm sorry. What'd you say, Mills?
no. Go ahead.
I was just saying, like, it did not feel like 5 minutes and 40 seconds watching it in real time. It just did not. But it did from the bell ring and did feel like a formality. I'll say that much. It definitely felt like it was going to happen. And then coupled with the fact that you're at Cleveland Browns Stadium, you're in Cleveland, one of the biggest, chants of the crowd at a Browns game is barking because of the dog pound. They were not going to boo that man. There was an opportunity to bark the entire time he did something cool. Oh yeah. They were firmly behind Braun, which is also like an added wrinkle because it is Ohio and there's a whole Ohio State-Michigan rivalry that's going to happen forever. Of course, his family being from Michigan, but yeah, that they were firmly behind Braun. Not really booing, against Sammy, but they were firmly behind Braun.
We got a new Intercontinental champion. Shout out to that. We also got a new United States champion. LA Knight defeats Logan Paul, who comes out with Machine Gun Kelly. I don't know why. I was just like, all right, Machine Gun, cool.
He's in the family. He's in the WWE family. We should have all known that he was showing up.
Yeah, they've put hands on him. He's done a WrestleMania theme. He's definitely in the family.
Yeah.
Logan Paul has not endeared himself to the people over the last week. Stupid social media antics.
Oopsies.
Especially going into by SmackDown, you could feel like that's just something. There's a reason why I think wrestlers and especially WWE, at least now in this day and age for sure, because back in the day where they used to have fucking some broad dressed up as Hillary Clinton going up against
fake Barack.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Or something along those lines, just to like have fun with it all. It's a reason why I guess there isn't any real like political comments or anything of the rather that kind of come out. Logan Paul, man, what an idiot. Shout out to LA Knight for getting the job done. You know what I'm saying? I was an LA Knight fan that night. I thought the match was going to go way shorter than it did because they spilled out beforehand. Like there was a whole match that happened on the outside before it happened in the ring.
Everything got time on Saturday though. Everything got time on Saturday. So
it just is what it is. But that superplex spot.
Shoot brainbuster.
Oh my god! I was trying to figure out who was at fault there.
I thought, hey, I made the call, bro.
Somebody tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Yeah, when you do that spot we talked about, stick up a little bit on it and make it a little brainbuster,
a little snug there, bro.
Stick it to him, bro." Nigga say, "I want you to really stick."
Hey, he was busting shit out the repertoire, man. He was adding new shit. He got a software update, man. He got a lot of new moves added, man.
An old nigga with a software update is crazy, bro.
You can tell. I said this in the Discord, but from the press conference, you can tell that LA Knight is somebody who I feel like, I don't want to use this as a slight, but not a lot of good things happen to him, so he doesn't really know how to kind of like react when good things do happen to him, because he was all over the place. He was on after the show. He was talking about all he's drinking and all this other stuff like that. Like, I'm happy for him to get his moment, but man, I can tell like it doesn't happen very often for him. So
in the Cody doc too. I mean, the Cody YouTube podcast. Like he was just like he doesn't know how to act sometimes, even with the John Cena interactions in late last year. Like he just didn't know how to take some of it, you know.
Yeah,
John Cena was so annoyed with this nigga. John Cena was just like, "There he goes, y'all."
All right, back to our regular scheduled program. That's so funny. No, shout out to LA Knight, US champion. It's good. heading over. This is big considering SmackDown heading to USA. I'm not sure if it's they'll do any play there, but he's definitely one of the big highlights of this show. So shout out to that.
I'd say third biggest pop of the night. Maybe I wouldn't say second, but definitely third. Because people got up, and once that happened, people said, "Okay, concessions time." Before they knew what was coming, to be honest.
Next matchup is the WWE Women's Championship match. Nia Jax defeats Bayley in a match that honestly I saw this result happening. Wasn't surprised by the result.
Y'all did. We literally all did. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have not been a fan of this program ever, and they still did it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. I think Nia after this year deserves it in a sense, for kind of everything she did, all the Rhea stuff, just the top of the year stuff, kind of bringing people along. She won King of the Ring. This is like something like building actual accolades on this show. So I think it's a
thank Becky.
Right. Mm-hmm. I don't think this match heats up until that powerbomb spot, though.
Yes. It was very quiet until that spot. You're right.
Yeah. It's because nothing was really going on in this, and I felt like usually in this instance they play up the big, like, if this is Vince, they play up the David versus Goliath kind of vibe to it at all. And I think that's I talked about the way Nia Jax is kind of promoted under Vince and under Triple H. I think with Triple H, she's a little bit more of like, she's just a very tough in-ring competitor, whereas Vince really tries to make Nia Jax seem very like larger than Goliath, kind of like these kind of like things.
Hey, Stu, make sure you pan that camera down when she's walking.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like one of those, you know what I'm saying? It was what it was. They did the fake cash in. I don't know.
People love Tiffany too. They love Tiffany.
They did the fake cash in to be like, did Tiffany mean to do it, or did she do it to help Nia? And I think that's another story kind of wrinkle there. Mm-hmm. I think Bayley's title reign, I mean, much of the time she was the champion, me and Meelz will forget to even talk about her on the show, or she wasn't even on the show.
I think she's had good TV matches. She had the good triple threat match at the pay-per-view in France. I just think from the beginning, I don't think they had anything planned after really the EO thing.
I was going to ask you all, like, do you think the story of her getting to the title outweighs the story that they told after her getting the title?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think they had. I mean, with the draft kind of coming with Rhea Ripley, I think they always had this plan of the live thing, right? Mm-hmm. And because there's a story involved, it becomes so much more sweeter and stuff like that. And I don't know what happens if the injury doesn't happen. I don't know where all that kind of goes, but it ends up playing out in a great way. With Bayley, it never really was that, to be honest with you. And I think the most interesting story they probably could have done was the Bianca thing. But Bianca's with Jade and all this other stuff like that. So we get what we get. I'm interested to see how the Nia Jax thing plays in the fall. She has a lot of opponents, to be honest with you. She has Naomi, Jade, Bianca. Michin's getting some reps. Might be a Michin match somewhere in there. Might happen, nigga. Zoe Stark was on Survivor Series versus Rhea last year. You never know what might happen, nigga.
I'm the one you gonna beat.
So we have no idea what's going on. But yeah, new women's champion. How about that? Next, I'm gonna call this. If this was AEW, they'd say the triple main event that we have here.
Honestly, the big three saved the show to me. Yeah. The big three definitely saved the show to me, for sure.
Drew McIntyre defeats CM Punk. Seth Rollins is a special guest referee. I'm not sure. All right, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. I'm not sure what a lot of people, and by saying a lot of people, I mean Dave and Brian, are critical of Punk's performance in this match. But I don't think this is a match where necessarily it's more the story than anything. Like, Punk is not going to deliver. What happened?
I said, it's clearly the story. What are they expecting Punk to do? A tope? What are you
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I don't know if this ain't a Will Ospreay adventure, my nigga. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I felt like so much of it was telling the story. I do think Punk was a bit more careful in this match. He made sure he was like, I ain't getting it. We're not doing that again. I'm not fucking the money up.
He did not take that DDT. I did notice that.
Listen, he said, that's a nah for me, bro. But he looked in great shape. To be honest, this is the best Punk has looked since maybe that WWE title reign that lasted like 434 days.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's in amazing shape. However, this match did what it was supposed to do. Literally.
Yeah, and I had to watch it back to get the actual dialogue. Like, you can see it, of course, from afar. You're watching it live, but I think this, I'm not gonna say required, but yeah, it required of watching if you were there live. I believe so, because you want to catch that dialogue.
Right. That's what I'm saying. The commentary's adding so much probably to this that maybe you aren't even seeing there potentially.
And again, this is something that CM Punk likes to do. He did it in AEW as well, right? Like, he did it with dark stuff. He did it with it was a lot more physical because Punk was I'll say this, he was lowering himself to that demographic at that point.
Sure.
Because that's the type of shit that they wanted, right? But, you know, he didn't need blood and all that type of shit to fucking get the point across here, right? He wanted to kind of create this story with Drew, with Seth. And again, I always say this is the type of story that Punk wanted to do in AEW. Him actually working with somebody that he maybe didn't like, or shades of gray. We don't really know if it's truth or not, because he's so carny in the sense where just like, we don't even know if they pieced it up or if they're it felt like in this match that all three of these guys are doing the creative for this. Just the way that they're dressed.
I felt like this was supposed to be similar to the Moxley thing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Where these two guys, they're obviously big pillars. They don't like each other. I guess that's more so the Rollins kind of situation. Right. These guys don't really like each other. They have this vendetta, but it's not like crazy. But they just can't stand each other. Just period. At the end of the day, this entire feud went to the extreme. I'm glad it finally got to the ring. Because for weeks on weeks, I don't know if I could take another show up in another country and fuck up this nigga's match. But I say they did a great job in kind of like building, especially with suspense, especially with Seth, and how he kind of played the role and it kind of like how things ends up. Drew picks up the bracelet is such like a key part of this entire thing. I feel like there should be a
shit is like Ryan's belt in a movie. You know what I mean?
People were very upset about the bracelet, and I'm just like, the bracelet is like key to everything, right? Like, is very key to this story because it's what's fueling Punk's rage and anger. And here's the thing, like, Punk is actually, he's a baby face, but this is an interesting conundrum. He's a baby face to us, but he's not a baby face to the locker room. And that's an interesting story. People in the locker room are uneasy about. If you notice, he has no friends there. No one ever comes out to help him. Nothing. No one ever talks to him. And I think that's an interesting story that they kind of expand upon, where it's like Seth and Drew are the only people that actually interact with CM Punk on these shows.
Yeah.
So the fact that in some ways he is what we think of him, but the way that we think of him is actually abhorrent or toxic to the people in the locker room. He's egotistical. He says how he feels, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's an interesting character. And I want the story to be that Punk realizing that he has to be better, not only for himself and us, but for the actual locker room before the story's over with. And I think that we're getting there in that he's seeing that his rage is actually affecting his career. And I think that, again, we're just now getting there, and people are just not letting the story play out for them. And I think that's the frustrating part about this.
I think people are seeing definitely the broad strokes and taking it as that, but then they're not really paying attention to kind of like the fine print of how everything is kind of going on. And I thought the way this ended was kind of masterful. Seth Rollins, because you can kind of see it. You can buy the situation with Seth Rollins is, right? Like, he sees the bracelet on the floor as a referee, and he kind of like loose things on the floor. You pick up, you put it in your pocket. Now, him putting it on, you can play it however you want it. He put it on his wrist just to have it on his wrist to keep it safe. You can put it on it that he really did want to kind of piss off Punk. You can kind of play it both sides. But that leads to the eventual confrontation between Punk and Rollins that leads to Drew McIntyre taking advantage. He takes a Punk's anger. He hits Seth Rollins with the GTS. He goes in the corner. Drew low blows him and then hits him with the what's the fucking move called?
Claymore?
Yeah, the Claymore. Drew calls over. Drew's like, Seth. And I thought that was a nice little touch.
Count it.
Yeah.
Because again, Drew is also extremely egotistical that he thinks Seth actually likes him.
Yeah.
I mean,
We can do it together.
It's such great layer. Like, there's so many layers to this that I think that like you are sorely undercutting yourself if you do not like kind of see where this thing is working and how and the story they're trying to tell, and just let it play out. You know what I mean? Like,
Please.
I thought that this is the beginning of this whole thing. And I think the reason that it works so well is that like the fans are also extremely invested, for sure. But not only invested in it, but they want to see CM Punk be a better person. And I think that like if he could get his rage in order, then he is definitely gonna get to that point. But I thought this was a home run. It's one of my favorite matches on the show.
No, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly.
Easily. I yelled like a 14-year-old when he picked up Seth. Like,
oh my ass. I literally said, no, what are you doing? Because again, that's like some people will have that reaction and some people will have my reaction where it's like, what are you doing? You're ruining everything for yourself right now. And again, it might be meta commentary of Punk and what people were saying about him after AEW. And it's like, there's so many things that are meta about this whole storyline that I just feel like people are not picking up on it.
And another thing real quick, he is thinking that when I watched it back and called the dialogue, like it says, you think it's about you. It's not always about you. Now take aside from the fact that he helped out Cody at WrestleMania. There's a motherfucker who comes out dressed like Liberace or Elton John every Monday. Okay. Yeah. You have an outsized personality too, sir.
The Cody thing was about him though.
Yeah.
Remember, it was about him beating Roman Reigns because he was what do you say? I'm the only guy who could stop him.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Like you could totally completely let Cody handle it, but you had to come out in the Shield gear in order to do it because again, he was the last bullet in the chamber. So again, they're playing off these guys' personalities, man, and I think that is the great part about this storyline, man. It's just fantastic to me.
Absolutely.
Well, World Heavyweight Championship match. Gunther finally gets crowned. He defeats Damian Priest, and my favorite match of the night.
What a
by
match!
far.
What a match!
Like the story they told, I think they managed to combine physicality and story all within one. And again, this is like the last part of like the major reset with everything going on in WWE. Because to be honest with you, Damian Priest looked so good leading up to this. I mean, you think about the weekend that he had, his doc is being premiered, the championship matches that he had. I think he's carrying himself when you look at, and I know this was a little part of a doc too, when you look at him and how he was presented 2 years ago, 3 years ago as a face, and he's kind of just like...
They talk about that.
At length, yeah.
Yeah, he's like whatever Vince makes faces from, you know what I'm saying? Like he's like,
it was not on the documentary. It's not so thinly veiled that it was Vince's fault that he was that type of babyface.
Right.
Like smiling, it is very clear that like he was not in favor of the way that he was presented back in 2021.
Right.
And and we'll talk about it on Raw on Patreon, but like he just comes off way better here as a babyface. Just the way he talks.
Yeah, he comes off much more as an actual human being. Like I feel like even before he was just like, I guess because of his inclusion with the Bad Bunny thing, it's like, oh, we got this international star and he wears this and he wears that and he's like, he's cool, but it's blah. But I feel like now he's much more grounded. There's a lot more layer to his story. There's a lot more narrative to kind of things that go on with the decisions that he's made over the last 2 years. It's been 2 years since the Judgment Day started. It kind of built up to this moment right here. Him and Gunther are clashing. Gunther's getting some good hits in, but Drew made Gunther bleed. His chest bleed.
His titties bleed, bruh. Shit's crazy.
Bruh. They were going back and forth, and as Damian Priest is he's getting fully into gear, he hits the what's it called? The heaven.
South of Heaven.
Well, South of Heaven. Yeah, South of Heaven. I never have to say these people's finishers. The South of Heaven goes to cover Gunther. Finn puts Gunther's leg on the rope, and the crowd audibly, we know the jig is up. How is that kind of reaction in the live arena plus?
I mean, when they put Finn's face on the screen, that was just like, oh, because he's telling the story with his facial expressions. But even one better, right after that moment, the SummerSlam replays start to play on all the screens in the building, and Priest is taking his time to watch what happened because, of course, he couldn't see it in real time. So once he sees that, he's like, oh, what the fuck? And I'll tell you, once, of course, and after that, Gunther gets him in the sleeper. But when he starts shaking out of that sleeper, I don't think Damian Priest has ever been more over as a face than he was in that one moment.
That moment was defining. I think the match itself was defining for him to be like, he is a babyface now.
Yep.
He came better in a loss. There's rarely people who come out, you lose the world championship, and you may have come out hotter than you went in.
Yep.
Like, that never happens. Usually the end of a world championship, for instance, no, not the thing, but the Bayley.
Yeah.
Right. The Bayley thing. It's like, it's over. You know what I'm saying? Get to the back of the line. You know what I'm saying? But with Damian Priest, it's like, this shit is just beginning. This shit is something new. You know what I'm saying? And they branch out to a different story because we're going to talk about what Gunther does on Monday on Patreon. But like, both of them branch out to different types of story. You can still tell that story again in the future. And they'll probably be much more hotter than they are now. But this match was incredible. The main event, Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa. Can we talk about Cody's entrance?
Yes, we can.
I'm legitimate. My wife was like, "Is he about to retire or something?" And I was like, "No, this is him."
Dramatic guy. He's just very dramatic.
This is him. He walks out with Pharaoh. They have a whole thing about Pharaoh. It's like Pharaoh's been on tour with him this entire summer. Pharaoh's, this might be his last ride as well. You know what I'm saying? Because he's had Pharaoh for a long time. He gives up Pharaoh. He walks and he sees Arn Anderson. Big pop.
Huge pop. It was first. That was like one of those reactions.
Right. Arn Anderson gives him the pep talk. I'm surprised they just didn't bring over the Cody. You remember the Cody sweatsuits? The whole Cody team.
Right. DDP in there.
Did you notice Cody's sweatsuit that he wore at the press conference and when he was coming out? It says like WWE quarterback or
yes,
QB.
Yes, WWE QB. I don't know what I was going to ask you all. What does that acronym mean? It was an H3R.
Yeah, H3R. I don't know what that acronym means. I'm very interested to see what that is, or maybe one day he explains it. Maybe it has to do with like his family or something like that. I'm not sure, but on the back it has the shows on it as well.
I didn't see that. Oh, okay.
On his back. So it's like the company is on his back.
Oh, that's fire.
So
this nigga does a lot.
He's a flair for the dramatics. I'm telling you.
Here's the thing. After what he went through this year, he deserves that jacket. He deserves that jacket. He kind of deserves that jacket. But
they've been giving him everything this year. They pull out one of Dusty's old one of Dusty's old outfits and threw him in Japan and all this other shit like that. Like he's doing well. This match,
it was a tale of two matches, eh?
Man, oh my God. Like, and that's the thing, like you said it before. I think you said it maybe in the Discord. Like, let's not do Bloodline rules for a while, okay? Because you're training the audience to look for the fucking entrance or the pop-up whenever this happens. Because nobody's biting on a false finish before anybody interrupts,
But here's my thing with that as well.
Feud ending thing.
But here's my thing about it as well. You still had the first 15 minutes where Solo Sikoa could have did anything worth a damn. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
true.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you still could have. This is the opportunity to kind of like show out. You're in a main event. This is Solo Sikoa came with whatever Raw main event, SmackDown main event ass match that he was having normally on the shows. And I think Cody did his best. He's doing the, Cody Cutter, all the other kind of like dramatics and everything of the rather. And yes, we're waiting for what's eventually to come. They had Arn Anderson prelude all of that for a reason, right?
Right.
The hardest line was, "You got some friends and they on the way." That was the hardest line of the whole shit.
Yeah.
Right. And it was like, well, did this nigga call Roman? I don't know. But
could be.
Solo Sikoa, to me,
the friends line did a lot of work That line did a lot of work for itself because it's like you're still, and we'll get to it at the end, but it's just like, who are his friends? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, go ahead.
Solo disappointed me in a major way.
Oh, he did. And again, I think that you get bumped down because I ultimately think that if the direction is what it is, then that he's taking advice and counsel from somebody else. So I think if the story stays as it is, then he's not going to be a major factor of it for very long. I feel as though in terms of, you remember how we said like LA Knight and he had that big moment against Roman last year and he kind of shit the bed?
Yeah.
Like it's that moment, and I think he needs to go back down for a while.
Yep.
After this, so that here's the thing, he's not.
No, he's not.
He can't.
Arguably he has a bigger match coming up.
Exactly.
Right.
And
it's gonna be ass. Oh my
God.
God.
That's what I'm saying.
Gonna be so much story in that match, like because the diving headbutts in the corner, I was like audibly cracking up. Like I was laughing. He was looking at me. I'm like, y'all watching this shit? You see what he's doing? He's diving headbutts. He's serious,
bro. We're not. Maybe he needs to like get in better shape or something along those lines.
Yes, he definitely needs to be a little bit more explosive.
But like 3 years ago, he was the explosive one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You watching NXT? I remember this man had a match with Boa, like had this amazing like what it was a no DQ or whatever street fight or whatever the hell it is. He's had matches with Grayson Waller, had matches with Carmelo Hayes. He had these great things on NXT, and I'm not saying like, yo, go check his NXT. I'm not trying to be that guy. His indie stuff is way better. Now, I'm not trying to be that guy, but I'm like, bro, you clearly, whatever you have has not transitioned over to this moment. And maybe it's because he's done the WWE style of main events for so long, where he's like playing a character in this role. He's meant to be an enforcer, but you are the star now.
Right.
You need to have star performances in the ring. And just between Jimmy and Jay early at WrestleMania this year, like
it's bad that it like the only actual person from this lineage or this storyline or whatever, the only person that can actually work seems to be Roman and now seemingly Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga. Those are the only,
like they're not giving it up in the ring how they supposed to. You know what I'm saying?
Like it is bad that they're the only people that are like actually working. Like I've done the complete 180 on Tama Tonga.
Yo, same. I did not see this coming.
Tonga Loa is just like, I don't know if he's funny or I don't know if I should laugh with this.
Comedy style. That's all I can say.
They got memes of this nigga already, bro. Like
somebody put out the 1 year ago today of those chops on Okada. So comedy style, general.
Anyway, the tale of two matches is eventually went to the point where it seems like it's gonna be over. He's going for the triple Cody cutters or whatever, not the triple Cody cutters, triple crossroads. Then I guess the Tonga Loa come out.
Tonga forgets where the turnbuckle is.
Oh my God. Some people are saying they're trying to rationalize, like, is that part of the eye patch gimmick? Like, please.
Hey, whatever you think
eye patch gimmick is crazy.
Whatever you think is the funniest part, then that's the truth.
That's what it is. It's what it is to you, baby. He's like, art is all about interpretation, baby. He comes out, then Kevin Owens is the first one who comes out, and he gets his moment. He's letting off stunners and all this other stuff like that. Then Randy Orton comes out. Randy hamming it up. My nigga came in like like they were announcing him for the All-Star game or some shit like that, bro. He came in, he's slapping fives. You're like, Randy, there's some shit going on in the ring right now. It's kind of serious, actually. Yeah, slapping fives, waiting for the cues on his own entrance and shit.
I'm like, he goes, in danger, Randy. What are you doing?
Yeah, he goes in. They take out the Tama and Tonga. Yeah, they take out the boys.
Then we have another like 3 or 4 minutes of these two wrestling, bro. And I'm just like, yo. I'm like, the steel stairs ain't doing it, Cody. Get a gun, nigga. I'm tired of watching this shit.
So then, of course, Jacob Fatu comes out, and he's doing all the Jacob Fatu moments, the moonsault, the Samoan drops, the whispers in the wind. He's nailing them all. He goes to set up Cody on the table outside. I thought this felt like a little bit of overkill to me. But I guess he didn't land it. He didn't land it. Or did he land it? For Jacob Fatu.
Yeah, because Cody fine.
Yeah.
Cody
Jacob Fatu goes up to the top. Did he hit it? I completely forgot at this point.
He did. He just grabbed his leg afterwards.
He's like, shit.
He did hit it. Oh my God. So he goes up to the top rope. He does a splash on the table. I'm pretty sure he knocked his shit on the edge of that table.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. Yeah.
It looked like, because we were expecting the worst, but I'm like, it looked like he hit his shin really hard. Like, you hit your shin on the edge of the bed, you might have the same reaction.
Yeah.
But he's like,
finish it, nigga.
Yeah.
And then he pins it.
Get in the ring.
He says, nah. And then out of nowhere, do. How did everybody know it was him? Because I was like, whose music is that?
So as soon as that hit, of course, they went head of the table on all the screens.
This is the mix show editor, whatever the fuck it is, bro.
That WrestleMania 40 remix.
It was the 30. It was the 39 remix, right?
No, the 40. Yeah, the one that last this past WrestleMania. Yep.
Oh, it was the 40. It was a 40 remix. Roman comes out, and this speaks to the greatness of him as a character. You don't have to have him tell you that he's a babyface. You know he is one now because of the way he reacts. And you also know that he's the tribal chief as a babyface now.
Yes.
Because of the way he reacts.
Yes. After that, he looks at the crowd and yells. Like, I'm like, okay, yeah, we get it.
Yeah.
We got to have a conversation on Roman Reigns merch. Because they will print anything.
They will print anything. I have not gotten over the GOAT yet. The literal and still t-shirt. Motherfuckers is buying this?
The OTC is crazy.
Like, yo, over the counter? What are we doing here? What is this?
I'm legitimately like, what is this? I'm like, because I'm picturing there's niggas backstage Roman's returning. Let's get some merch printed up. What are we talking about? You know what I'm saying? There's a whole discussion. Mugs, this, that. He drops the OTC shirt. It would have been great for just a random WWE collab with someone would have been the shirt or some shit like that.
That motherfucker sell though. That motherfucker sell.
No, it's all time, all the spots, baby. You got the youth sides, the women's sides, the men's sides. It's all in the top 5.
So Roman comes in. I appreciate commentary trying to do the who's the third man, whose side is he on. Right. But I'm also glad that the creative said, stop doing that. He is going to be a face. We don't need all of that. Right. He comes in, Superman punches Solo, spear to Solo, crossroads to Solo, and then he ends it. But well, I forget the moment between he and Cody here. Cody's looking up like, nigga, what's happening? And then he gives him the nod, and then he gets out the ring. Roman kind of looks, there's a moment he looks down like, what the fuck have I done?
Yes.
And then he says, you know what? Fuck it. You know what I'm saying?
And he kind of my name for 3 months.
Exactly. And man, it was a good moment. It was a great moment. Cody wins the match. He does not take his eyes off of Roman. Great touch by Cody here. Yes. I don't know. You never know if he's playing with this nigga or not. I'm pretty sure they told him to do that, but you never know. Cody's looking at Roman the whole time, and he celebrates. And the show goes to black with Roman. With people wondering what's going to happen next. I thought a home run of a return. Like I said, the challenge here, y'all. How are they going to have the 1A and 1B? We talked about this last week. How are they going to have the 1A, 1B? I think as a moment here for the first day or a couple hours, I like that interaction. He wasn't trying to undercut Cody or overdo it. They did what it was. Cody got his moment. What are they going to do going forward? Because now, realistically, Cody is breaking away from the storyline.
Yes.
Officially.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, maybe.
No, there's no fucking way. Who else? There's no fucking way. Unless they do something in Atlanta.
I'm imagining. I mean, Atlanta's already sold out, so it don't even matter.
I mean, you could do Roman, Cody tag team.
They could do literally anything in Atlanta.
Yeah.
He's in the homecoming interest. Whatever it is going to be special for Cody.
No, right? Absolutely. That was SummerSlam. It was a very, I think, when you said like the hard reset, like this was it, and it felt fresh so much that it led into Monday Night Raw, which felt even, to be honest, just as good as the show.
Infinitely better than Detroit last year. I just want to say that.
Yeah, no.
A huge shit on Detroit last year. I almost forget that Triple H did that show. It felt like a Vince McMahon joint.
Tribal Combat. Oh my god.
That Shayna versus Ronda, MMA rules.
Stunk. It stunk.
I mean, that tanked her career. You want to keep it a hundo.
Hey man, word is that she open to come back.
We good.
Right.
But listen,
and we're closed.
we are good on this episode of the A Show for public. Thank you guys for listening. Appreciate you guys for hearing all of this craziness. Thank you, A+ for popping up.
Yes, sir.
You want to join us for Patreon?
Of course.
All right. So for Meelz, I am Justin. Make sure you check out the War Report this week. Cyrus is unfortunately making me watch AEW again. I don't know why he keeps wanting me to watch a funeral on TV, but I'll continue to do it as long as he keeps asking. So
someone will punch a wall this week. I'm almost sure of it.
Oh god! Or there will be a turn from a big group or faction that will take up the whole show. But thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you guys next time on the A Show. Peace.